This November meeting of the Collingswood Board of Education is called to order, and this meeting has been appropriately advertised as required by law. Roll call, please.
Is Mr. Connor on the call? I didn't see him. Mr. Craig?
Here.
Mrs. Caden?
Here.
Ms. Mello?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Is Ms. Rivera? I didn't see her either. Okay. Ms. Celia?
Here.
Mr. Stotts?
Here.
Mrs. Wood?
Here.
Ms. Henry?
Here. Please join us if you wish for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we had no executive session this evening, so we will begin this evening with our Committee of the Whole. Our Committee of the Whole will be a presentation of board member committee chairs who will share what we discussed in committee, share the highlights to give members of the public and other board members a chance to hear some of the issues that we discussed. This is just an opportunity for board members to speak, and members of the public will be able to speak afterwards at specified times. Is there a motion to enter Committee of the Whole?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second. This is Sarah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Our first discussion will be led by Miss Celia, the chairperson for Finance, Building and Grounds.
Good evening, everyone. I have a few items to highlight from our committee meeting last week for the Finance, Buildings and Grounds Committee. First of all, at item 11.14, there's a submission for the Securing Our Children's Future grant, which is arises out of Alyssa's law, which was passed, I think, in late or early 2019, in which public schools can utilize this grant to do safety upgrades. And I hope I'm representing this correctly at their schools. So I understand that, and I'm sure Mr. Higginbotham could speak to it later in his report, but they're setting out to bid for improvements to the glass structure of the Collingswood High School cafeteria, the big fishbowl. So maybe we can get some more information on that once we find a vendor to do those improvements. Also, we had some donations this month. I'd like to thank the CAG, the Collingswood Educational Advocacy Group, who donated masks and hand sanitizers for our kids in the schools, as well as donations, monetary donations. As you may all remember, Mr. Ingram had planned I thought it was going to be a great event, the In the Wood concert, to raise funds for the music and the technology department. Unfortunately, as everything else that happened, COVID hit, and unfortunately the concert hopefully will be rescheduled sometime in the future. But would like to thank everyone who was going to be a sponsor of this event, and they graciously, even though the event wasn't going forward, donated the funds to the school for procurement for, I believe, the technology department. And I will preview Mr. Higginbotham's report, but he has something he'll talk to us about the gym floor and how it's going. It's moving along very well, and like I said, I'm sure he'll give us a more detailed report. So that's all from Finance, Buildings and Grounds.
Great. Are there any board members or student board representatives that have questions or comments about the Finance, Buildings and Grounds issues presented? Okay.
Not really. Oh, sorry.
It's fine. Ms. Caden?
I was just curious about the fishbowl. Is it to make it like shatterproof, or is it not? Is that not already the case? Just more curiosity, honestly. Then
my understanding, and again, we'll talk.
Yeah.
To maybe Keith could fill us in, unless we want to do it during his report. It's to make it bulletproof or bullet resistant, is my understanding.
Correct.
Gotcha. So that's kind of our big security improvement goal for this year. That be okay.
At least with this grant, yes.
Yeah, it's film that we're going to be able to put on the windows.
Okay, anything else for finance, buildings and grounds? Okay, thank you. Then our next report will be from the curriculum committee from Ms. Kaden.
So our agenda is very light again this month. So not really that much to highlight here for discussion. There's, a senior privilege where a student has moved out of the district, and it's part of our policy that we will, that student will be able to finish out her senior year. And we had a few out of district home instruction and placements. And then, so the one thing I just thought maybe I would highlight in the discussion part was that Dr. Oswald previewed the next year's 21-22 calendar. And I know we always wanted to kind of continue to be more mindful of the various cultural holidays and religious holidays of different members of our community. And it looked like we found a nice balance of that in that calendar at first glance, but since it's not on the agenda for us to approve yet, just kind of putting it out there that everybody take a look at it, kind of think through all of the various things we've been talking about. And if you notice that there's a date that we should discuss more, that, we should do that soon. And that's all I have.
Any questions or comments or concerns from board members or our student representatives? And then we'll move on to our personnel report. A lot of the issues in personnel, are restricted by privacy issues. But Ms. Miller, do you have anything to report from personnel?
We just have a series of hirings, and if I'm not mistaken, these are just replacements. So it was already budgeted position. So it's not, I guess, new money. And then some stipends for the athletic calendar, should they still be able to take place. We'd have these in place. But that's about really all I have for this month.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Questions or comments from board members or our student reps? Okay, are there any other issues that the group would like to discuss during this committee of the whole?
Fiona, can I just mention, I mentioned this at our committee meeting the other night, but the school calendar, I think it should include Veterans Day as a holiday. Did a little checking. Veterans Day is a New Jersey state holiday. It is also a federal holiday, and that comes with ramifications, but I think it should be a holiday in and of itself. So I'd like to make that change or request that change be made to the calendar. There's still adequate number of days to cover the 180 days. I think the calendar as it's written now is 183 days. If we added one more holiday, it would be 182. That gives us 2 snow days, so to speak.
Are there any other comments on that? Okay, Dr. Oswald, am I correct that the calendar is not going to be approved this evening? Is that correct?
It is not on the agenda.
Okay, so is this something that we could discuss further?
December, yep.
Okay, great. So if the other board members can take Mr. Stout's thoughts into consideration, and we can discuss it further. Thanks. Anything else? Okay, seeing no other issues being raised for committee of the whole, is there a motion to leave committee of the whole session?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. We will move to section 4, which is our HIB report. I believe that's Mr. Yamamoto.
Hi, everyone. Scott, can I share my screen? Scott, would I be able to share my, Scott, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. Do you want to show just the report? I have that up.
No, I have a,
You have another one?
yeah.
Okay.
or
I'm going to make you a co-host. There you go.
all right, so hi everyone. So tonight I'm presenting the 2019-2020 HIB self-assessment scores, and these are determined by each of the schools. And tonight the district is seeking board approval for these scores. So for this assessment, each school is actually evaluated on 8 different core HIB elements. These are the 8. They deal with programs, trainings, how we do investigations, how information is presented, and so on. So within each core element, there are a number of sub-elements. This is just for core element number 1, just to give you an example. Each of the sub-elements are evaluated from 0 to 3 points, 0 being it does not meet requirements, and 3 is exceeds the requirements. So this was the table that Dr. Oswald had up a little earlier. Basically, this table shows the values of each of the individual school scores. And at the bottom of the table, again, here are the 8 elements that we were evaluated on. If you look at the top of the chart, this would be the total possible points. And at the very bottom, it says if basically if the school just met all requirements, they would have a score of 52. And if you look at each of these values, you'll see that pretty much all of our scores are above the met all requirements. So our district average was about 71.5% of the, or 71.5, which is about 92% of the total possible points. And if you look at this value here, if a school just met the requirements, they would have 52 points or about 67%. So we're doing really well. All right. So just a couple additional comments. So by the end of this year, all of our anti-bullying specialists or ABSs will be certified, will be a certified ABS through the NJPSA FEA Legal One Services. The anti-bullying specialists, with them, I usually have at least 2 meetings per year. Our first meeting was held a little earlier in September. And basically we review the anti-bullying definition and process. Each year I also attend an HIB update session, and I turnkey this information to the ABSs. And at the end of the year, we usually determine if there's any HIB patterns as we do our investigations. So knock on wood, this year we have had no HIB investigations. I hope I didn't jinx myself there, but we've been doing well so far. And basically the district is going strong with our HIB procedures instructions. And overall, we're doing really well. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Just one quick question. I was curious what the numbers in bold, if that had any meaning or.
Oh, yes. They were ones that showed improvement. They just increased by 1.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
For some of the things that are like curriculum or instruction, is that not uniform across the district? Like, why would one school get a different grade than another?
Some of that, most of it's pretty standard. A lot of it is the read alouds. That, like, for instance, at elementary levels, a lot of the HIB information is read alouds. Some schools do have maybe do a different program that is a little different, that they decide to add to their district that maybe another school didn't do. But for the most part, they are pretty consistent, but some of them have like slightly different programs.
Okay. So amongst our schools here in Collingswood, there's different programs going on in relation to this?
Right. So some, like one of the schools, for instance, I think does a contract, or 1 or 2 schools may do a contract with the parents, for instance. And that was something that the principal decided to use. That's something on top of. For the most part, our elementary schools, though, really have, I mean, again, if you look at the scores and if you look at our investigations, well, we really don't have many HIB investigations to really pursue. So in terms of a district, and I've been in these meetings where I hear other districts, we are doing very well.
Thank you.
Matt, I can actually add to that because you mentioned some curriculum ideas. So each of the schools follows a standard curriculum. Some of the schools will go above and beyond that curriculum. For instance, one of the elementary schools does the responsive classroom and has adopted that school-wide, really based upon the faculty, the staff, and the student body's need for the program or perceived need for the program. So those are areas where an individual school may go above and beyond what the rest of the schools are doing.
Can I answer any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next section on our agenda is section 5, which is future dates and miscellaneous information. On that list, you will see some single session days, Thanksgiving break, and remote learning, district-wide remote learning for the week of 11/30 through 12/4. As always, check our website and check for communications regularly for updates. Those are the dates we have so far. I'm going to move to section 6, which is the approval of our minutes of the October 2020 public board meeting. Is there a motion for that approval?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second, Chris.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman, is this a roll call?
No,
No.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to open up the floor for our first opportunity for public comment. So our new guidelines for virtual meetings indicate that speakers have an opportunity to speak and say what they need to say independently. In the past, we were kind of taking people's typed comments in the chat and saying them. But what we will do now is we will have you type your name into the chat just so that we know that you are interested in speaking, and then you'll be called on and have your opportunity to actually speak. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And remember that, and I lost it, but remember that all issues must first go through the proper chain of command and proper administrations before coming to the board. Is there any public comment? Okay, Dr. Oswald, do you see any names in the chat? So again, we'll wait another 30 seconds or so to see if someone wants to type their name into the chat to speak. This section is for items listed on the agenda. A second opportunity for items not listed on the agenda will be presented later in the evening. Okay, still none? Okay, seeing that there's no public comment, we will move to skip ahead one to our student reports. And so do we have a report from our student representatives? Ms. Jones, Ms. Yarbrough, or Ms. Rayo?
I can speak for the extracurriculars and activities because I don't see Asia or Nicolette here.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jones.
For the week of November 16th, so last Monday, we had a virtual spirit week at the high school, and students and staff were encouraged to dress up for the different themes each day. So that kind of got our students very engaged into like school spirit. The Interact Club hosted a virtual trivia night with the residents of the Collingswood Manor, and high school students and staff who are part of the Interact Club competed against the Manor residents to answer various trivia questions. GSA members have created a series of infographics for the Trans Awareness Week. Women's empowerment has also been continuing the conversation of consent to the middle schoolers and to the high schoolers. And the very first consent presentation this year was to the freshmen, and they were presented by the senior leaders. Social justice has also been taking initiative to create activity fair videos for the clubs in Collingswood. So again, students at the high school can be engaged and start getting into the school feeling. And in the middle school and the high school, there's a new virtual group called Student Support Group, which is linked together, like I said, with the middle schoolers and the high schoolers to vent and to really stress that they've been holding on into a more of a student-to-student conversation rather than a student-on-adult conversation. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. It's good to hear that these extracurricular things are still happening, and it sounds like they're successful in these uncertain times. Do any board members have any comments on our student reports?
Who won the trivia? The Manor folks or the young folks?
It was a tie.
All right.
They were catching up, though. They were catching up.
Thank you.
Anything else in our student reports section, ladies? Okay, thank you very much. Students, you are welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of our meeting, or if you have to go, it's completely understandable. But again, we appreciate you updating us and giving us the student point of view. Okay, moving forward, we will move back to section 8, which is our superintendent report. Dr. Oswald? Dr. Oswald, we can't hear you.
About that, I was unmuted and muted myself. All right, section 8.01 are the enrollment numbers for the month. So you will see we're down about 20 students. Most of those you're going to find are in our preschool program. We had several of our preschool families just opt to sit out this year, particularly of our 3-year-olds. School safety report is included on the board member side. School safety and security drills are still ongoing. Despite the pandemic, they have changed a bit to allow for additional safety precautions, but we are still participating in our safety and fire drills throughout the month. Suspension report and anti-bullying report, as Mr. Yamamoto said, there are none reported, so that's great news. And there are no first readings of policies tonight. That's it.
All right. Section 10 on our agenda would be Ms. Coleman's Business Administrator Report.
Thank you. This evening, I've got the October monthly transfers, the Board Secretary and Treasurer of Funds reports for the month of October, student activities reports for October, food service financial statement for the month of October, as well as the November 2020 listing of purchase orders, as well as the listing of the warrants to be paid tomorrow morning. And we still do not have a final audit report. I don't believe the Department of Treasury has updated the pension amounts, and the Department of Ed keeps pushing the audit due date. As soon as I get something final from the auditor, I can probably present it on his behalf. The field work is done. We're literally just waiting for a few numbers to come out of Trenton, and we have not received that yet. So I will keep you posted on that. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Section 11 is our Buildings, Grounds, and Finance section. Items 11.01 through 11.17 were discussed at the Finance, Buildings, and Grounds Committee meeting last week, and the highlights of those meetings were presented by Ms. Celia at Committee of the Whole this evening. Is there a motion for items 11.01 through 11.17?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And are there any questions or comments from board members on those items? Okay,
Do we
well,
know, this is Sarah, how is the donations level? Is that a recurring donation we need to be supporting? In other words, do we need to keep looking for more sanitizers and masks, or will that hold us for a bit?
I believe it's going to hold us a bit. I may have to ask Keith to chime in. I know we've gotten a lot of our orders in. We'll take everything everybody has. And we're putting everything to good use, but I think right now, I may jinx us. I think we're okay. Keith?
Yeah, we're holding steady for now. We also, in addition to the donations, we had the DOE provided some masks as well for us and for Oak Lynn that were distributed to the nurses. We still have a pretty good supply of masks on hand, and we're holding our own with hand sanitizer, but we are waiting for sanitizer refills for our little automatic Purell stations in the classrooms, but we've been supplementing that with the donations we have. So far, so good. And if we do get the items that are back ordered before Christmas, I think that we will be okay well into the springtime.
I also asked Keith if he could just give us a brief. I didn't touch upon the details because I wasn't sure where we stood this week on when the gym will be ready in the high school.
Right now, the gym is still on schedule. The final demo of the old floor was completed last week. We took delivery of the new floor last week as well, and it was moved into the gym so it could begin acclimating itself for the temperature and humidity levels. The crew was back on site again today, and they started laying the new subfloors and the sleepers and leveling those out. They also took a large delivery of the plywood underlayment today and started moving that into the gym. So I don't foresee any reason why we wouldn't be done on schedule. And the original schedule, I think the projected date was December 18th, 19th. It was a Monday. I'd have to double check on the date, but no, I don't foresee any problems. We spoke with the graphics designer for the new center court logo. That was all finalized. The shop is working on creating the stencils we need for that. We're getting paint samples matched up. What I actually asked them to do is because I wasn't satisfied with the standard color. We're having some custom paint samples made. We're going to paint on some sacrificial wood that we have there and make
Scott,
where we need to be.
Okay. So if we do have a fall sports season, we'll be able to use the gym?
If we have a winter sports season,
That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
And it's my understanding that the winter sports season has been kicked back. I believe basketball practice isn't slated to start until January 11th, and wrestling and volleyball aren't going to start until March 1st.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the update.
A motion on the floor for item 1 through 1117. And can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
No. Mrs. Kaden?
Yes.
Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Cecilia?
Yes.
Mr. Stotts?
Yes.
Mrs. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes. Moving to section 12, it would be the approval of our curriculum committee reports. Items 12.01 through 12.06 have been discussed at length at the curriculum meeting last week, and the recommendations have been made by the committee as presented in the highlights by Ms. Kaden tonight during committee of the whole. Is there a motion to approve items 12.01 through 12.06?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, I just feel like we need to take a second and just acknowledge that there was a pretty egregious breach here in our safety. And that was pretty offensive, and I want to apologize as a board member that was allowed to happen. And we need to, I think as a board, need to discuss security for these meetings. So that's stuff can't happen again. I don't want to let that stay silent, because that was incredibly offensive. And that's somebody who lives in our town who knew about this meeting that took the time to do that. So apologies. That came through.
Just so you're aware that we have about 4 or 5 people also trying to get in. I'm not letting them in.
Thank you.
Matt, I'm sorry, did I miss something in here? At my age, I tend to doze a little bit now and then, but I'm not sure what the heck you're talking about.
Bill,
I'm glad you didn't hear it.
Yeah.
A few people, probably young people, came into the meeting, made some offensive noises, had some offensive pictures. I kicked them out.
Okay.
It takes me on this set. I'm just doing too much. It's just way too much going on here. So we're going to need additional support in the future. You're going to have to bring additional people in to help.
Well, I appreciate everyone's patience in this. So again, do we have any questions or comments from board members on the curriculum items 12.01 through 12.06? Okay, is there a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mrs. Caden,
Yes.
Ms. Mello,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Cecilia,
Yes.
Mr. Stotts,
Yes.
Mrs. Wood,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Item 13, section 13 of our agenda is our Personnel Committee report. As stated with the other committees, these items were discussed at length at our committee meetings last week, and the recommendations were made by the committee members. Are there any, is there a motion for items 1301 through 1311 of the personnel report?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Questions or comments from board members? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mrs. Caden,
Yes.
Ms. Mello,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Cecilia,
Yes.
Mr. Stotts,
Yes.
Mrs. Wood,
Yes, except for any items marked with an asterisk where I abstain.
and Ms. Henry.
Yes.
You skipped me, but yes.
I'm
Syria.
sorry. Did I? Siri, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Lot going on. Okay.
Okay, and the next section of our agenda is our second opportunity for public comment. Please type your name into the chat if you wish to speak, and you will be called on and allowed to speak.
Diana, before we do that, I have to do section 14.
I'm sorry, Dr. Oswald.
All right, section,
Um,
I'm sorry.
no.
1401 is the nursing services plan. That's an annual plan that outlines the services we provide to our students, particularly students with higher levels of medical need. The 1402 is the 2021 uniform state memorandum of agreement between education and law enforcement officials. That's an annual approval. 1403 is the 2021 school safety and security plan, available for board members to review. 1404 is second readings of policies for this month. These are the policies you saw for the first time last month. 1405 are regulations. The regulations accompany the policies above. They only require one reading. There are no HIB reports from the previous month. So that is 1406. So we're looking for approval of 1401 to 1406. Thanks.
Is there a motion for those items?
So moved.
And a second?
Second, Sarah.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mrs. Caden,
Yes.
Ms. Mello,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Cecilia,
Yes.
Mr. Stotts,
Yes.
Mrs. Wood,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Okay, and again, our next section is section 15, our second opportunity for public comment on anything. So please type your name into the chat if you're interested in speaking, and you will be called on to speak. And please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And remember that all issues need to be worked through appropriate administrative channels before being brought to the board. Comments from members of the public?
Ms. Rossi?
Good evening, Jen Rossi, 114 East Palmer Avenue. I do have a question in regards to the remote learning options for families that had a second reading tonight. I see here for procedures to transition from full-time remote to personal services that it needs to be done at the beginning of the marking period. Are those dates on the new calendar, or would you be able to tell me the next start of the marking period date if you know it offhand?
Elementary start of the marking period is the 30th. It's right after Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Dr. Oswald, do we have other members who are indicating they wish to speak? Members of the public?
Not yet. Excuse me, not yet.
Okay, and again, if you wish to speak, please type your name into the chat so we know you'd like your chance to talk.
Nothing.
And seeing that there are no members of the public interested in speaking further, we will move to the final section of our agenda, which is our motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
Wood.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you for everyone for your patience and cooperation.